Hey, it's PL and Kristen.
Hello.
Right here. Just
we're with Maddox. He's right there doing a video shoot. It's been after the ride. We're skinny, getting fat again.
oh.
Anyways, we're gonna do a video for you today. It's gonna talk about some of the things that people have asked us about that we experienced on the Continental Divide. To talk a little bit more about the charities, and we're also going to talk about what's coming up next into the next couple of months and then years beyond that. Couple that stood on my mind. The first one was the highest peak we hit was 3,650 meters in Colorado, and there was something cool about doing snow angels up at that altitude, and it was hot up there as well. And so that was, thought, a really cool time. And at the same time, there was a little bit of runoff. So we had like glacial water, well, not glacial, ice cold water. And for those of you who've watched some of the videos, we had some hot days. And to have that ice cold water was just incredible. And it was so good.
Yeah, I think for me, there were so many people along the way. One of the really cool ones was when we stopped in our last stop in Colorado, and we had a couple pick us up, take us to their place, their warm shower. So we knew we were going to stay there, but had no idea. And it ended up being a mechanical day because PL needed his tire fixed. So we ended up staying over. We decided that we were going to take a mechanical day. So we did talk a little bit about it in the video. But the cool thing for me was during that time, that's when Global reached out to us and wanted to do an interview. So it just worked that we were there for the day. We had the time. Global was able to get stuff together. You were able to get stuff to Global. All the footage they asked, you were available. Like the timing of it was incredible. And so we were able to do this Global BC piece, which also was cool that after that, the gentleman who put the video together for that piece reached out to me personally on Facebook. He messaged me and said, hey, I'm the guy who did your video. It's amazing what you're doing. And just the affirmation from him. And then we were able to connect him to Maddox. And so I just, there were so many of those timing things, but that one was pretty cool that we were in the middle of Colorado about to go into one of our hardest sections, and we're doing an interview with Jay Durant. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah.
I think just adding to your story about people, there was two pretty cool couples that we met. The first one was in Fernie when Kristen had her sick day, and we went for dinner with the one couple.
The Germans.
The German engineers, really smart, and they were heading all the way down to Argentina, I believe, correct? They
south, yeah.
All the way south. Sold everything, put stuff in a container, and basically started to ride. So that was pretty cool. And the other couple we met was at the Llama Ranch, who, so talk about smart people. They met at, I get this wrong, the European NASA, ESA. They both applied for, I don't know, some educational thing, and neither one of them made it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that means you're probably not that smart if you didn't make it. So of course they're super smart. And they met there, and she said to him, well, what are you doing after this? He's like, I'm doing a tour device. He said, I'm coming along. And they gave us some of their maps because we didn't have maps. We shared with them. And throughout this journey, they were heading north while we were heading south. Mm-hmm. And we discovered that he proposed at the end of that trip. So we're still in contact with him a little bit through Facebook, but that's a pretty cool story, meeting people that met other places on the tour, and now they're actually getting married.
And I think one other big one was, a big one, I mean, like I said, the people were incredible, but we had pulled off, we had picked up a young guy, he was riding with us, and we were in the middle of this road section. And we were just hungry, it was lunchtime, so let's just find some shade. And sure enough, there's a church there, so we pulled into the church and we're sitting there eating, and this lady comes by on this quad, she says, do you guys want some water? And we're like, yeah, that'd be great. And Pio's like, if you have any Coke. So she went, got us cold water, cold Coca-Cola, bags of chips.
Yeah.
Went back, got us a second round. She said, I saw you when I was going to get the mail. I came back, you were still here. And we met her and her husband, and they are pastoring at a small church. They're starting a youth group there. And they we had such a good lunch, and the cold beverages in New Mexico were always a bonus. So
Chips and Coke,
yeah.
Best lunch ever.
Yeah. So anyway, but I mean, there's so many people's stories that were incredible, but yeah, those two stand out to me for sure.
When people talk to me about the trip and what stood out, and it wasn't as much an experiment as it was just became a habit. We tried to wave at everybody that came towards us. And I would say 99% of the people waved back. And in one of the videos we talk about, we came into, was it Wyoming, and we waved and no one waved
Idaho.
back. Idaho, and no one went like, come on, show us some love. But it was really cool. Even the quads would slow down for us and we wave at them and they would stop and wave back. So I think just the whole idea of how many good people are out there. I mean, we're constantly bombarded with negative news and forest fires and stuff, but there's a lot of really good people out there, and I think our trip definitely highlighted that for me personally.
Apparently we were in the best part of the U.S., straight down the middle.
Yeah.
That's what we were told. Yeah. That's where all the best people were.
Yeah, don't go too far east or too far west.
Yeah.
I think the memory of the Hope for Cora ride really had an impact on me.
Go Cycle 5!
I thought about that quite a bit, about seeing the Cycle 5 chanted in Ethiopia in a community that had never had a bike ride before, and just the feeling of there's actually a global reach in our story and people are starting to share it. That memory of watching that video before a ride really stuck with me. There were a couple of things that we did throughout the ride that we laughed at a lot. First one was, and this goes way back, years and years and years, but when one person passes another, I used to always go, meow, meow, meow. But we had squirrels,
Chipmunks
crossings. Every time chipmunk would cross in front of us, we'd
Snake,
go, meow, meow.
Well, he started doing it, and then I started doing it, and then we just kept doing it.
So that was funny. And then as we were riding through some of the states, we saw so many half-finished projects. So the joke was, great idea, poor execution. So that was kind of an ongoing joke where we'd see something, oh, another great idea, and then Kristen go, poor execution.
Yeah.
So those are things.
Those two were pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the third one, every time someone would wave at us, we'd go, nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
Ah, nice guy.
Nice guy.
Another
And then
nice
we'd be like, he's not a nice guy.
He's not a nice guy. He's going way too fast. Not a nice guy. So there were three little sayings that we constantly did throughout, like every day. I would say we either had a or a nice guy, not nice guy, or great idea, poor execution.
Yeah.
So those were, I think, for the last.
Well, for majority of it, yeah, we started doing that, and then I think.
Those are funny. Like I laughed all the time, especially when she started doing it. She'd be like, and I'm like, I wasn't even going that fast, but she just wanted to say,
or every time I pass them, I would do that.
Yeah. Every time.
Well, there's only a couple. When you pass somebody on an uphill doing that, and it's taking you like 30 seconds to get by them, it's even funnier. But. Yeah. Yeah, we mentioned Hope for Cora. So that one, we talked about the bike race that they put on. And for us in particular, all the charities that we chose had to deal with either, for us, if the money that we were going to raise, we wanted to specifically go to something involving business, sport, or education. So those three things. And so for Hope for Cora, there's quite a, they kind of do a bit of all of it. So then we wanted something pretty specific. So for them, it's their after school community programming, which is going to involve sport and education. And so that's a pretty big deal for us. So just to highlight, that's what they're doing. And then Opportunity International that was sort of the first one that we got behind, and that was when we got a chance to go down to the Dominican Republic. So we've actually had quite a bit of opportunity with them lately, like since we've been back. Or a couple times we've done the Tour Victoria, which is one that is a fundraiser for that, the bike ride. We've been able to go to the dinners. This past week we were able to go to a get-together with the board members and donors, and so that was pretty cool. We've met a few really interesting people through there. And that one specifically, the money is going to the Aspire Women's Program in the DR, and that will help them with microfinancing for business loans. So that's those two off the top of my head, and then...
Yeah, I mean, Himalayan Life, Daniel, the founder, when we departed to ride, he came along with us for a little bit, and he's pretty excited about setting up an endowment fund for schools there, and he's already figured out how to invest the money that we're raising. And over the 5 years, the goal, of course, is to get $500,000 to each charity total for the 5 years. Just in the interest alone in perpetuity, I think he says it's like 50 kids per year in perpetuity will have full schooling, clothing, the whole package. So he's excited about that. Mm-hmm. And then LCC, which is a university in Lithuania, the president, Marlene, she's been a big fan of ours, following us along. And they are...
And Dennis and Renee.
Yeah, founders. Dennis Ray Newman. And I know Dennis Ray Newman from here locally. Mm-hmm. And they have an endowment fund for students from war-stricken countries. And specifically, of course, now the Ukraine is really a highlight for them. So they want us to add funds to their endowment fund specifically for getting education to those types of students.
Yeah, and they... ride bikes, so they were supposed to ride out with us as well, and unfortunately Renee broke her leg riding in Victoria the week before. So that was, I don't even know how old she is, but she was just a trooper, like seeing them. They were at our welcome home, and they've been, it's been pretty cool. They've been, just to hear the stories of some of the stuff that they're doing. So that's been pretty cool with them for sure. IDE. Mm-hmm. We didn't know much about them at first. It was a connection, and then we've got to meet them. They came out to ride with us. At the strategic planning was awesome, and
John and Stu, the two main guys there. And
so our money's going to the Paul Polak.
Yeah, Paul Polak Innovation Fund.
Yeah,
they're a big entrepreneurial-driven charity where they go into communities and they find resources that are naturally available and use them to innovate new products and ideas. And a big one that they're excited about is this bamboo treble pump where farmers can stand and pedal on bamboo pedals to extract water. And it's super cool. So that one was introduced to us by a gentleman called Terry Enns, who's been a big supporter of some of the charity rides we've done in the past. And when he found out what we were doing, I met him in December, and I drove out in the snow and the hail. I didn't think I was going to make it to the restaurant, but he wanted to meet. He was so keen to meet that we met, and it just made a lot of sense with the business side for sure. Yeah. So they've been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we're really proud of is how they're working together. It's a pretty new thing, having charities meet together, share best practices, share how they reach donors, and then it's been cool already with LCC and the type of education with the business. They're going to be sending some students to some of these other charities for their sort of practicum hours and stuff like that. So that's been really special, and just seeing these founders meet each other and the excitement behind what they're doing and the excitement they have behind us just choosing them and the trust that goes back and forth, that's been pretty cool. So those are the 5 charities, and we're been to one, hoping to go to a couple more personally to see where it's going, but
So before we left on the ride, we started a $25,000 matching campaign. Kristen and I, in addition to paying for everything, we also said we were going to contribute $25,000 of our own funds. And so the matching campaign, while we were away and came back, exceeded $25,000. So we're super excited to stroke our own check and add that to our total. So total to date, in terms of what we actually have in our giving fund with GiveWise, is just shy of $300,000. So we still have
for this year.
That's right, cash that we have collected from donors. So the goal, of course, is to raise $500,000 per year. And then that $500,000 gets split evenly amongst the 5 charities. So every charity is going to get $100,000. So we're just over $1 million, which is, of course, divide that by 5, just over $200,000 of donations with communities, organizations, or individuals that have said we're in for 5 years. So over $1 million is committed for the 5 years. And so, of course, the goal is to try and get to $2.5 million of commitment. So we've got a ways to go yet. Of course, the focus now is to try and get back into fundraising. We're getting back into year ends. People are thinking more about donation receipts. So we're going to have to get out there and share the news, talk about our goals of what we're trying to raise. And of course, we're just a conduit. We're just a couple of people that are just out there riding our bikes, creating awareness. But when we hear what this money is doing for the communities and the people, that's ultimately what the money is for. It's not for us. People said, like, there's absolutely nothing in it for us. It's not our foundation. It's not our charity. We're just trying to figure out what my purpose in life is and do good along the way. And
I think something to keep in mind too is sometimes you think, well, I'm not giving very much, so why would I bother? Because it is 100% give and every penny goes to the boots on the ground, $5 Canadian is a huge impact in a country that is underdeveloped. So, I mean, if you were to say, all I got is $5, that $5 changes a whole family's life potentially. So I think it's important to just remember, if I want to give, then I can give whatever. It doesn't have to be this massive thing. It doesn't have to be a 5-year commitment. It can just be whatever that you feel. But $5 is huge for a charity when it's 100% going to that. So that's what I think too is really special about what we're doing. It's not paying for anything else except for what those particular programs are for each of those charities. So that's why it is a big deal. And I've said often, I mean, I'm in the profession of working with girls. I believe the way that we change, I think these cycles of poverty are going to start with the moms and the girls, and through that, then the young boys coming up, and then the men. And not to say that the men aren't doing their part, but the women are the ones that are...
Guys are losers.
No, obviously, they're farming, and so IDE, creating these foot pumps, the men are going to be doing that, but the women are as well. And I think that, in order to change cycles of poverty, you have to affect change in the lives of the children, and they need to go to school, and they need to be able to make money, and they need to be fed and taken care of and be healthy so that they can become adults and that they want to pour back into their community. And so all of these specific charities, and all the charities, I would say, but these specific ones that we've gotten to know are doing that. And so I think, the women are being empowered, they're making money, they're taking care of their kids, and it's just, you're seeing the importance of family. And these kids are growing up, they're going to school, and then the really cool thing is they're coming back. They're not just leaving their country and never coming back. They're coming back and then working within the foundation or changing it. And then you just see these communities become self-sufficient. And so, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And so I believe that that's a reason to give to us specifically.
Yeah. I mean, to add, you talk about how $5 makes a difference. We have to find a lot of people to give $5 to reach our goal. So even though that's a very feasible number, 500, 5,000, 50,000, those are also really good numbers to give.
In his world, he has those people. I got $5 people that I know. So.
No, and we need both.
We need all of it.
We need all of it.
Yeah.
We need your help.
Yeah. I have a couple. One of the things, so we're both pretty competitive. And there was a couple things. One was we were leaving this one place and we were going to another one, and they were just like, oh, well, it'll probably take you 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours. The pros do it in like 5 or 6. And you won't be able to ride. You'll have to hike a bike all this section on the downhill. So I was like, all right, whatever. And we start going, and I'm just like, we're riding this stuff. Like, because before that we kept saying, oh, I wonder how long the pros actually ride for, what their average speed is. Like, are we riding as fast as the pros? It's just we're not, we're actually sleeping at night instead of riding for 21 hours. So when she said that, I was just like, oh man, I was getting a little bit fired up and challenged. And so we rode this stuff that apparently we weren't going to be able to ride. And then we just bombed there, and we made it in 6 hours, I think. So in my mind, I'm like, we were almost faster than the pros, but they also had terrible weather. But we just were riding like stuff so they were like, oh, that's really good time. So I was super inspired by that, thinking like, we know how to ride. We're good riders. And then I think the other one was, again, just related to riding. Well, there's a couple, but the 200 kilometer day, the first 200 kilometer day where we were on the road to Cuba, I think.
Yep.
Or to Grants, Cuba to Grants. And we were just like, this is awesome. And we were just fired up about how fast we went and how far. And because a lot of people, I don't think, expect you to be able to do that. But that's just how we started riding. And then the climbing, some of the climbing, that just the really long climbing days, like to be able to climb like that and felt pretty good.
I remember that morning because I think the day before I was pretty tired, and we woke up and we had a 200 kilometer day. I was a little bit anxious, and I remember you saying, I can tell you're in a good space, like I can feel your energy, and that just kind of gave me that little bit of like, okay, let's do this. You talk about highs and lows. This might have been a low for you, but we had one climb that was 31 kilometers long. We climbed for over 3.5 hours, and it was like, you got to just turn your brain off. So that was probably a little bit of a low for me. But an inspirational moment, I think an inspirational moment for me was probably riding to the start at Banff and having people around us and thinking like, I can't believe all these people came out to see us off on this ride. Like Maddox and his mom, and last minute invites from Hope for Cora, and like every charity had a representative, and I felt so humbled that these people would take time to say goodbye to us on this ride. And I think that was probably one of those moments where like it seems a little bit surreal that these people care so much about what we're doing. So I think the start was probably an inspirational moment for me that I probably hung on to subconsciously, where it's like not finishing was never an option, given how much time people invested in us and the amount of people that believed in us. On the flip side, I also like some of the stories where people were telling us, you're actually doing this. And I'm like, yeah. Like, so there were some doubters out there, which also feels good that we kind of nay-nayed the doubters.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start.
I mean, I started with a bad back, so I guess that was an injury. And I just was prepared. I had some good meds, some good creams, some stretches. I brought along a floor hockey ball just to do my stretches.
And the stretches were every night and every morning. Yeah,
I was not 100%, but at night I didn't always feel motivated, but at least once a day, if not most days, both. But yeah, it was interesting just when you're not sitting, you're riding, but you're moving, or you're laying down sleeping. And so your body's just in a good position. I had definitely some muscle pains around the knees. So I just put my cream there, my neck, got pretty tight on a few occasions, so I'd put the cream there. I just started lathering myself up with this anti-inflammatory cream. It was awesome. So I think that for me, I mean, even I had a couple bruises from when I crashed, but nothing major. Just, yeah, I'd say that was it for me.
Yeah, well, two. One, I had a crash and the whole left side of my leg was pretty beat up. And again, coincidentally, there was a nice cold lake where we camped. That was the night.
Was in the video, but yeah.
Was in the raccoons, yeah. So that was one crash, and of course, the common question that people are asking my wife and myself is my saddle sores. When I explain exactly what so I'm going to actually explain exactly what it is. So maybe
every cyclist right now is going like this, but if you're a non-cyclist,
auditory discretion may be advised. But basically, what it is you can get some skin rashes or chafing, but no different than anything else. Like they build up calluses. But of course, on your saddle and where you make contact, there's hair down there, and hair follicles can get infected. So one of mine got infected, and basically what happens is there's an infection underneath the skin. So there is a pus boil underneath the skin. Mine was about a half a centimeter deep. Sometimes they can be near the surface, they can be deeper. And I actually bring syringe needles to try and lance them, where I stick it right in to try and get the pus out. Now these were so deep that I couldn't get them. And over time, they started to get literally the size of like a peanut M&M, and they're that hard. And then I started to readjust how I sit on my saddle, and I got one on the other side. So I had them on both sides, tried to lance them a few times. In the video, she's like, getting sick and tired of PL looking and trying to figure out, as you can imagine, trying to look down there and figure out where you actually have to
in the middle of a campsite.
stick this needle. And of course, you try it a few times, and if you don't get it, then you irritate the area, and it even gets worse. So I had a few successful lancing attempts where the video said, yeah, they're actually getting better, but then the other side started to flare up. So the pain that you get when you first get on in the morning is pretty intense. But then the body just somehow seems to just absorb or mentally absorb the pain, that you just get numb to it after a while. But every time you get on and off the saddle or you reposition yourself, I had to like slowly sit back on, because it's like, imagine again the peanut M&M. If you put that on the seat wrong, that's intense pain. So you move it around so that little pus boil moves over, so that you can actually sit without actually getting the pain of that. So it can get bad enough that people get sick from it, and then you have to go on antibiotics. So that was a concern I had, but never got that bad. I've had minor ones before, but these are probably definitely the worst I've ever had. And they're getting better now. And of course, the body starts to clean them up. And just like if you have like a sliver, that starts to clean up after a while. So yeah.
And probably the wrong saddle choice for you in hindsight.
Well, the saddle that I use is the same saddle I use on my road bike, but the angle that my body sits on my seat is so much different. And I made a mistake early on. I usually use tea tree oil to keep everything clean. It's an antifungal kind of ointment. I didn't use that. I also thought, these endurance guys, they do it for, day after day. If I don't wash my shorts maybe 1 or 2 days, it's not the end of the world. And I think I just started off with the wrong attitude. So I know which one was
You
worse.
go first, because I got a couple.
So we came into a small town late at night. I can't remember what it was. Everything was closed. All hotels were booked. And one of the gentlemen of a restaurant,
Del
Norte, had Airbnb, but they were all full. So he asked the guy from Airbnb. Anyways, we had a chance to sleep in a room above this restaurant, and it was so incredibly hot that I don't know if I slept much at all. Like the heat in that room, and there was no fans. And
No, we had the fan. You were in bed. I was on my mattress on the floor. We had that fan,
yeah,
but no window.
it was hot.
It was hot. Yeah, I didn't sleep then either. And that was the day. That was the day we left late and put in a long day.
Super long.
I can't
Hot.
remember where we ended after
The
that.
people that we met that night were coming north. It took them 16 hours to do the ride, and I think we left late, and I think we came in late.
That's when we got picked up by the couple.
Right. Yeah, because we came in late that night.
By, shoot, their name's escaping, which is
That's
terrible
okay.
because they were super cool. And that was, so we left 11:30 that day because we went for breakfast, we chatted. Anyway, that was bad. So then there's two other ones that come to mind. One was when we were camping with the raccoons.
Oh,
We were in our tent and it was comfortable to sleep, but we were just up because the raccoons were up. Now I think I slept more, but he was up a lot. So that was kind of crappy.
you had earplugs in and I didn't.
I had earplugs in.
But you guys saw that on our week 3 video.
But that was a bad night. And then the other one was same situation. We were staying at a great place, but we had this little room. Close the door because there's critters, and just no ventilation, no fan, sweat box.
So what we tried to do a few times, and I learned this from another trip, is that we would take a cloth, soak the cloth, and then put it on our chest. So basically having like a wet blanket on our chest, and then the fan cooling that blanket off to try and cool down our core.
But we had no fan.
We had no fan in there, so it was brutal.
So the next day for that one, we did the alternate route that was on the road, so it wasn't too bad. It was a shorter kind of day.
But I think when you get tired like that, I think you just know that you just got to keep going, and you just push the fatigue aside, and it's pretty amazing how the body just
Caffeine.
Yeah, a little bit of caffeine, but the body just adapts, and it just I think people underestimate how long you can perform on little sleep. Like the people who do these endurance events, like they sleep 3-4 hours a night and they do it for 10-15 days in a row. So
which they start to go a little crazy. We weren't that bad, but
No,
we didn't have them back to back to back, so that was helpful. We would end up getting a good night's sleep, which led us to maybe get some more hotels than we originally would have thought, but the ride was the priority and sleeping is pretty important. So that 32K 3-hour climb. That was, we left, so we knew there was kind of climbing. We didn't get as far as we wanted to get the one night before. So then we had about 70 or 80K to get to Salida. And it was it was okay riding, but there was some climbing, but it was crappy washboard. So the washboard gravel is just, it's brutal. So we had that, got into Salida. It was kind of hot. And in my head, I kept thinking we should just stay here. But we had made the plan to keep going. So we went to the grocery store, loaded up with some food, stayed there for we had a long stop. Then we decided to keep going. And in my head, I knew there was elevation climbing, but I wasn't prepared to have that first part. And now we're in the afternoon. And it was hot. And you start this climb and you have to climb on the pavement on a highway first. And I can't remember how long that was, maybe 10K?
About half of it, 10-15K. 10
to 12K, pretty steep. So you're tired, you're hot, because, we had a good night's sleep before that, but tired, hot. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, this is pretty crappy. And then we turn onto the gravel, and I just wasn't prepared for another 23K of climbing. And it was just, there was no relief. It was just straight up the whole time. And you'd have to stop to get off your bike. And I usually don't like stopping on a climb. I just want to get it done.
I usually stop to get off my bike.
Yeah. And then you were trying to then you dropped back, you were behind me. And I was just in my head, I was like, there were so many inappropriate words and swearing, and I was like mad at him. It had nothing to do with him, but in some way I was mad at him because I'm like,
because I was doing great.
Yeah, because I didn't know. So then I just stopped. I was
kicking ass.
And then, it just was, I was pretty irritated. And then, of course, you get up, you come down, and then you're not done yet. So it's more elevation than we had expected. It's longer than we had expected. It's starting to get dark. Washboard, I'm trying to stay in. And that's when we came into this little town. It's actually not even a town. It's just the accommodations, like the camping, the kind of cabins, and then the restaurant. And that was when I was like, oh, this is bad. I'm done. Like, I thought, this is it. I was in a pretty bad mood. But then...
Was that the place where we came in, big RV place? We asked if we could find a place, and no, we're totally full. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
No, there's a cabin.
No, this is when we said, can't we put it? No. And then 2 people came out and said, hey, we have a cabin. You can sleep beside our cabin.
No, that was a different place. This was the place where we went in, and she said, yep, the restaurant closes in 9 minutes. And then she knew we were cyclists.
Oh, she gave you a hug, that lady.
Gave me a hug. Here's the plug. Here's your water. And we ate, and then we had a little cabin.
Oh, the electric outlets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that day, I was not happy.
I can think of another time. It was late again, and we were doing this weavy. It was super cool. It was downhill. It was like a mountain bike type terrain. Super cool. And missed the turnoff, so we kind of cut through, and it was a bit sandy. And all of a sudden, here's and Kristen wiped out in the sand. And I'm like, "Hey, you need a hand?" She's like, "No, I don't need a hand." Like, she was pissed.
I think I said. I threw an F-bomb at you too.
So I'm like, whatever. So I just kept going, and it was all good.
When you're coming in late and it starts to get dark, for me, because I start to I think too far ahead, and it's like, we're going to get in late. We're not going to have a place to stay. We're going to be eating at 10:30 at night. By the time we get to bed, it's 11:30, 12:30. There's no way we're getting out early, which means we're getting out late, and then it's just crappy. And yeah, and if it's dark and you're trying to just When we came in dark, I wasn't the happiest. I was mad at us because we just weren't prepared. And why is it so late?
A few times he's like, we got to get our shit together. And I'm like, I have my shit together. It's just really late, and the day was longer than we expected.
No, because that was the day coming into Colorado, our last stop in Colorado. Because I said we should bring headlights. We're not riding at night. So here we are riding at night. We have no bike lights on the front.
We have headlights.
Yeah, my headlight, because yours didn't work.
No, mine was just really deep in the bag.
And it didn't work. So then you had mine. So I had no light, and I was behind you. Just anyway.
We had our shit together, but she didn't think we did. She was overthinking it again.
We didn't.
It was late and you were tired.
We didn't have our shit together that night. We got lucky.
No, we got lucky. Yeah. They picked us up. We saw the high beams flashing because I knew this guy gave me instructions on a text message. I'm like, I have no clue where we are. And all of a sudden we come into this T section of a highway, and I'm like, I don't have a clue where, and the headlights flash, and the people are there to pick us up, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, because
he knew I would be happy. He was thankful that I would be happy.
You would have been pissed.
Oh, I would have been.
It would have been so beautiful. That's an easy one. Frozen burritos and Snickers. Snickers at the end turned into like chocolate milk with peanuts because they were super hot. But if I had access to chocolate milk, I would consume. Yeah, if we came into a town and I was hungry, I'd stop at a gas station.
You always had chocolate milk.
Yeah, I'd probably drink at least 2 liters of chocolate milk if I had access to it.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, we'd finish the day and we're at a convenience store, and I would drink like a liter of chocolate milk, another liter of chocolate milk, liter of Gatorade, and it's like my stomach never got full. Like it was the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing drinking that much chocolate milk, but it was crazy. I'm like, oh, I'm full, and I'm like, go, and another liter. I'm like, oh man, I'm still thirsty.
Yeah, we were so thirsty. I always needed salt, so I always had some chips. Those are always, for me, the salt. I did have Coke, but then I realized because you have to keep drinking it or you crash, and it just became a hassle trying to worry about where the can or the bottle would go. So chips for sure, and then cold Gatorade near the end. If we could get cold Gatorade, we were chugging that like crazy because the water was hot, and pop at that point, you just didn't want it. So as much cold Gatorade as we could get.
The 2 S's.
Ice cream. I wanted ice cream forever, and I kept missing it. I think I ended up having it maybe once or twice along the whole trip, but man, there were days, all I wanted was an ice cream.
But people kept saying, you need the 2 S's, salt and sugar.
Salt and sugar, yeah.
So I'm more of a sugar guy, she's more of a salt guy, but we needed both, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, electrolyte stuff after a while became nauseating, and
Yeah, so just Gatorade.
I can never get sick of chocolate milk.
No,
It's so good.
Chocolate milk.
And it's good for you.
So yeah, we will expand probably on all of our gear and stuff, but some of the favorite things for me specifically was these Rafa bib shorts, and not non-bib shorts. They're just the short. When you're out and about and you have to go to the bathroom, bib shorts are the worst. So these were awesome. And these pockets.
I have no clue what she's talking about.
These pockets are awesome. So I just carried my phone. You can actually even see the fading. I just had my phone in my pocket the whole ride, even when it started to rain a bit. So I could just pull it out and take pictures and stuff. So these were my absolute favorite clothing gear. I had various other Rafa stuff that I loved. And I think I just would say my bike. Like, you have so many options for bikes, and this Salsa Cutthroat was incredible. So I loved it. I loved getting on it. To go with the bike, the most important thing is the Redshift seat post and stem and the bar system. So I think those two together, when you're hitting rocks and you're hitting the washboard especially, you just kind of bounce up and down around. So that was, for me, I would say, my favorite gear.
The other thing that it's always a constant debate on whether you run a 1x or a 2x. So I'll show you right here. A 2x means you have 2 different size sprockets in the front, which gives you twice the amount of options for gearing. And a lot of people run a 1x, which means you have one less thing to go wrong. But the riding we did on these long road sections, having the big ring in the front, making us go faster, was a huge benefit. The one day a guy rode with us on a 1x and he couldn't keep up to us on the flats because we had way more gear ranges. So it's a little bit preference, but I'm a fan of the 2x. So that was probably something that I'm glad we had, because on some long downhills, we'd go 50 kilometers an hour, which on the 1x you cannot go that fast on because of how the gears work. So I liked the 2x on my bike. And again, the handlebars, I have super wide handlebars. They're like 52 centimeters wide. So having all the weight on the front packs and then having a wider steering grip is super valuable. Felt really in control, especially on the descending. So what we joked about earlier about the 2 main questions, one was of course about my ass. The other one is about what's next.
You like saying that word.
I do like saying that word. The logistics of the next Cycle 5 ride is still in the works. Right. We don't know exactly what we're doing and what continent we're in. What we can say is, it was confirmed this morning, that Daniel from Himalayan Life is doing Tour the Himalayan Life, I think is what he's calling it, where he is cycling to 5 different communities where they do work in Nepal. And when he shared that with us, we're like, well, it's got the number 5 in it. We have to go. So probably, around October 10th or 11th, we're working on Kristen, making sure she can join, but heading to Nepal, cycling to 5 communities where they do work. Total distance is about 1,000 kilometers. So it's not our Cycle 5 ride, but it's going to be in Nepal and it's coming soon. So I'm pretty excited about that ride.
And I think that'll give us a chance to figure out the Asia ride, because there are a few opportunities that we've been thinking about. So that's also going to give us a chance to meet with some people and logistically figure out what's possible. So it is important for us to be able to share our money with those communities, like the money that we're raising too, but just even logistically what the Asia ride might look like is pretty cool. So yeah.
I actually have all of the countries categorized in each continent, and I'm realizing that because we have 5 continents, just because the charity is in one part of that continent, we're going to visit the charity, but we have the entire continent to choose from. So for example, in Africa, Kristen sent me a video clip on Zambia. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome for us to ride amongst giraffes and zebras? The Silk Route in Asia, Argentina along the coast in South America. So Patagonia. So I haven't told you this yet, but I want to do a crowdsource where I want to put it out there, and I want people to submit their best routes. The options are endless. We are trying to create themes within each charity in each continent. So North America might have been the distance theme. LCC in Europe might be the educational theme. So we're trying to put some pretty cool marketing ideas on these rides. We know people have absolutely loved following us, and that's just not me thinking that, the people are telling us that. So we want to continue to make these rides unique and special and memorable, because it is all about creating awareness. And if our story is more memorable, then the charities are the beneficiaries of that. So I'm motivated and super excited to travel the world, and again, sticking to the reason why I started, and that's to find deeper meaning on what else I have to offer, and just been super blessed to have you as my support.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, you know, when you're riding, it's pretty simple. Where are we sleeping? What are we going to eat? Where are we going to get water? And then we just on our bike. So we didn't really, you know, although there's planning in that, you're really down to the nitty gritty of what you have to worry about. And then reality, we get back and, you know, there's things to get going around the house. You've got to get up. Kiel's right back in the office. I'm starting work. I'm starting coaching. So our regular life gets in the way of even planning or going on these next rides. So it is interesting trying to figure out how we're going to balance our at-home life with these rides. And so, but you know, we're riding pretty fast right now because we're both pretty light because we lost some weight. So we're going hard for the next month until we're going to start lifting this month and getting back into a routine of getting strong. We have to put some weight back on before we ride again. So
good weight. Not fat weight, muscle weight.
There's a lot of stuff that has to happen
the gun rack
before we.
Look at the size of this. The gun rack in the gun show.
Yeah. Anybody know a good veterinarian?
No.
Because those puppies are sick.
Got that right.
Boom.
So my sleeves don't fall down.
Yeah, so your sleeves don't fall down. I think you just need to get smaller size. But it is funny. You almost have to buy 2 sizes of clothes because, I wasn't aware of what that would even look like. But I feel like, the ride was, I don't want to say easy. It wasn't easy, but Daniel from Himalayan Life had prayed, may God put a hedge around you. And I felt that the whole trip, that we were just protected. Weather-wise, health-wise, mechanicals, all that stuff. Like we had some issues, but nothing like what people are experiencing on this route. And so I'm going to move forward trusting that he's got it all figured out for whether we get to Nepal, whether I get to go, all that stuff. I'm just going to trust that it's still his big vision. We're going to get the funds. The people are going to be there. The routes are going to be pretty obvious at some point. So I'm going to hold on to that as we move forward too.
So just a thank you for all the people that have supported us. I mean, for me personally, I have partners in my company called Diverse, and they are the single largest. They are the single largest donor that we have. They've been on board from the beginning and super supportive. The feedback I've received from staff has been so great, and everybody is rooting for me. So I really feel like they're cheering me on, and it's not a burden for me to be away, although people have to pick up the slack when I'm not there. But the goal, of course, is to really help these charities out, and I feel a lot of support from my partners and the staff at Diverse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd echo that with me at MEI. I had to leave early, so my teaching partner Debbie Peters, she finished up all the report cards, which if you're a teacher, you know that's a big deal. The admin for letting me go, and then even this next October trip, like just, it's a big deal. I'm fortunate that I feel like I can go, and if that all works, that'd be great. So definitely the people at work, our daughter, she was here for 6 weeks, took care of the house on her own. Marika was golden, so that was pretty special. So thank her for doing that.
Well, in about 4 hours, we're gonna have Sarah, Peter, and Maddox, who you guys all know, are gonna come. We're gonna have a big thank you dinner. Unfortunately, Doris can't make it, but our team here has been absolutely amazing and keeping things together. We did a post-mortem on the ride and what went well and what didn't go well, and
now we're just gonna have fun and celebrate.
Yeah, now we're gonna have fun and celebrate.
Yep, and then
we have chicken.
Our sponsors.
Barbecue chicken.
Our sponsors too, for sure. Rafa came on board pretty quickly. They provided us with some great gear. Redshift came on board as well fairly quickly with the suspension stem, the handlebar system, and seat post.
Tailfin came on in a big way.
Yep.
Full packing system, so it's awesome.
Yep. And
light bicycle.
Yeah.
For the wheels. Last minute, I changed Kristen's rear cassette and noticed that she had a chain drop that I didn't know about, and the spokes broke.
Yeah.
Not broke, but bent, and they came up with a new wheel set.
Yeah. So thank you for believing in us and supporting us for that ride and moving forward.
So, for all of you watching our videos, please keep watching, keep sharing. Thanks for listening. We hope you can see the authenticity in who we are as people. I hope we are also showing how our hearts are in the right place and we're trying to do the right things. If we make mistakes or say things that are wrong or inappropriate, I'm going to apologize in advance. Yeah, like the word ass. But no, this is who we are. Like we're staying true to who we are. We're not making this stuff up, and hope you're enjoying us.
Yeah. Yeah, and feel free to reach out via our Instagram or our newsletter or anything. Like ask us if you want to know something or you want some videos on things, for sure let us know. We are super confident after doing that ride. That was, I think, the hardest physical ride that we'll have to do. And so when we finished it, we were both like, hey, we got this. Like, so the next 5 years seems pretty cool. I keep saying I'd rather just go now. Like, why spread them out over 5 years? I'm ready to keep riding. So we're pretty excited about the next 4. I think going into the first one, we weren't 100% sure, but finishing that has really given us a ton of confidence. And so we're going to do it. We're going to hit our goals. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, give us another clap. Okay, so
Baby, I'm gonna have to put you in the freezer because you're so hot.
Oh, man.
wow.
It's Friday.
Right. It's Friday. Okay.
Gail's getting silly.
If this is a midlife crisis, buying bikes is a lot cheaper than prostitutes, cocaine, or a divorce.
Or a Porsche.
Or a Porsche. So I'm not into fast cars. I'm not into fast women.
I'm fast on a bike. Fast.
But not fast, like speedy fast. Like
I'm speedy fast.
Okay. It's not what I meant.
I know. Oh. He was asking me to say
Oh,
hi.
sorry. Okay, you go ahead. You see the introduction.
Not all about you.
Sometimes.